After my son assaulted me, I grabbed my things and ran away from home. My daughter-in-law was already throwing a party in my backyard, with drinks and a barbecue. She finally left. Now we can live free. She spoke with joy, but as the music was blaring, they didn't even notice when the door slowly opened. That would come later. Much later. First, I had to get out of there. First, I had to survive this morning. I am 64 years old. This morning, my son Jake shoved me against the kitchen wall so hard that my head hit the tile. I felt the pain explode in the back of my neck like a white flash of lightning. I heard my granddaughter Chloe scream from the hallway. She was scared. Scared of her own father. I didn't cry in front of him. I didn't give him that pleasure. I got up slowly, the last of my dignity hanging from my shoulders like an old shawl. Jake didn't even look at me. He turned around and walked out to the backyard, where Melissa, his wife, was watering the plants, my plants. The ones I planted 20 years ago when I bought this house with the money from my job as a seamstress. Every dollar I earned sewing wedding dresses, school uniforms, curtains for neighbors, it all went to this house, to have a place of my own, to not depend on anyone. But now they live here, and I'm the one in the way. I went to my bedroom, the one that used to be the master bedroom, the one with the garden view. Now I sleep in the small back room, next to the water heater. Melissa said they needed more space because Chloe was growing up. I agreed. I always agree. I always give in. I always make myself small so they can fit better in my own house. I took a cloth bag from the closet, the same one I used when I came from El Paso 40 years ago, looking for a better life. Now I would use it to leave the life I had built. I put in clothes, not much. A grey sweater, 2 blouses, a skirt, underwear, my blood pressure medicine. The photo of my husband Leonard. He died 15 years ago. Sometimes I think he was lucky. He didn't have to see what our son became. I also packed the house deeds. The documents that prove this property is in my name. Eleanor Miller. Not Jake Miller. Not Melissa. Me. Just me. I hid them at the bottom of the bag, between the clothes. Something told me I was going to need them. Chloe walked in without knocking. Her eyes were red. She hugged my waist and started to cry. I stroked her hair. She is 9 years old and already knows the taste of fear. I will never forgive Jake for that. Never. "Grandma, don't go," she said to me in a broken voice. "I'm only leaving for a while, my love." I lied to her. "I'll be back soon. I promise." She shook her head. She knew I was lying. Children always know. I heard Melissa's voice from the kitchen. She was talking on the phone. She was laughing loudly. I heard fragments of the conversation. "Yes, she's leaving already. Finally. We can do whatever we want now. We're having a party this Saturday. Invite everyone. We're going to celebrate." My fingers froze on the zipper of the bag. A party. They were going to throw a party. To celebrate my leaving. To celebrate that they had forced me out of my own house. I took a deep breath. I finished zipping the bag. I kissed Chloe's forehead. "Don't cry, my life. Everything is going to be all right. You'll see." She squeezed me tighter. "I don't want you to go, Grandma. Please stay." But I couldn't stay any longer. Not after this. Not after my son had laid hands on me. Not after hearing that woman laugh while planning a party in my honor. A party to celebrate my absence. I left the room with the bag over my shoulder. I walked through the living room. The furniture I bought one by one over the years. The wooden table that Leonard and I chose together when we got married. The armchair where I breastfed Jake when he was a baby. Everything was still there. But it wasn't mine anymore. Nothing was mine. Melissa was in the backyard. She saw me walk past the glass door. She smiled. A small smile. Victorious. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Her eyes said it all. Finally, you're leaving. Finally, this house will be ours. Jake was sitting in a plastic chair drinking a beer. He didn't even look up. I opened the front door. The afternoon sun hit me in the face. It was hot, a dry heat that burned my throat. I walked down the sidewalk without looking back. My legs were shaking. I didn't know where to go. I just knew I couldn't stay there for another minute. I crossed the street. I walked past the house of Doris, my neighbor. She was watering the garden. She saw me with the bag. Her expression changed. Ellie, what happened? I shook my head. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I would fall apart. She put down the hose and approached me. Come. Come in, let's go. She took my arm and led me inside her house. I sat in her kitchen. Doris made me a cup of tea. My hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the cup. She didn't ask any questions. She just looked at me with those eyes full of understanding. Women like us don't need words to understand each other. Pain has its own language. I drank the tea in silence. My body felt heavy, tired, old. For the first time in my life, I felt truly old. Not because of the years, but because of the weariness of the soul, because of the betrayal, because of the abandonment by the one I loved most in this world. I raised that child alone after Leonard died. I worked double shifts so he wouldn't lack anything. I paid for his college. I supported him when he met Melissa, even though something inside me told me that woman was no good. But he loved her, and I just wanted him to be happy. So I kept quiet. As always, when they asked to stay in my house because they didn't have money for rent, I said yes. Of course I said yes. He's my son. He's my family. It will only be for a few months, they said, just until we save up for a down payment on an apartment. 6 months passed, then a year, then 2, and they never left. Little by little, they started taking control. Melissa changed the furniture around. Jake brought his things and put them where mine used to be. My space kept getting smaller and smaller until one day I realized I was living as a guest in my own house. But I never thought we would come to this. I never thought my son would lay a hand on me. I never thought I would have to flee my home. The place I built with so much sacrifice, with so much love. Doris prepared the guest room for me. Rest, Ellie. We'll talk tomorrow. You can stay as long as you need. I thanked her without a voice. I lay down in that strange bed. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. In my head, I only heard Melissa's laughter. We're going to throw a party. We're going to celebrate. I spent the whole night awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking, remembering, wondering when everything went wrong, when I lost my son. Or maybe I never truly had him. Maybe he was always like this, and I was too blind with love to see it. The next day, my whole body ached. My head, my back, my heart, most of all. Doris brought me breakfast. Eat something, please. I wasn't hungry, but I ate so as not to worry her, so as not to be a burden in her house too. I spent 3 days like that, floating in a kind of fog, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go. Doris gave me space. She took care of me without suffocating me. I will be eternally grateful for that. It was the 3rd day when everything changed. Doris came in from outside with her cell phone in her hand. Her face was tense. Ellie, you have to see this. She showed me the screen. It was a photo of my house, of my backyard. There were people everywhere. Tables full of food, beer bottles, a barbecue grill lit up, coloured balloons, music, a party. They were having the party. 30 years ago, I met Leonard at a textile mill downtown. I was 34. He was 37. We both worked the same shift. He was in the cutting area. I was in sewing. We saw each other every day during lunch. One day he offered me half of his sandwich because I'd forgotten my lunch at home. That's how it all started. We got married 6 months later. A simple wedding, no luxuries. Leonard Shahad didn't earn much, and neither did I. But we had something better than money. We had plans, we had dreams. We wanted a home of our own, a place to raise our children, a space that was only ours. We rented a small apartment on the outskirts, 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, a bathroom with broken tiles. But it was our refuge. Jake was born there 2 years after the marriage. I remember the first time I held him. He was so small, so fragile. He cried a lot. We hardly slept. Leonard worked during the day, and I worked at night, so there was always someone taking care of the baby. We were a team. We had each other. Jake grew up fast. He was a quiet boy, observant, not like the other kids in the building who ran and screamed all day. He preferred to stay inside reading or drawing. Leonard said he was going to be an artist. I thought maybe he would be an architect, something creative, something big. We gave him everything we could, clean clothes, even if they were second-hand. Hot food every day, even if we ate less so he could have more. New school supplies every start of the year, even if we had to pay in installments. We wanted him to have what we never had: opportunities, education, a future. When Jake was 8 years old, we managed to buy a small lot. It was small. It was in a neighborhood outside of downtown, unpaved, without all the utilities. But it was ours, our piece of land, our start. Leonard and I built that house with our own hands. Well, he built it. I helped by carrying bricks, mixing cement, painting walls. On weekends, the 3 of us went. Jake played among the rubble while we worked. It took us 3 years to finish it, 3 years of sacrifice, of saving, of not buying anything that wasn't absolutely necessary. I remember the day we moved in. Jake was 11 years old. He ran all over the house shouting with happiness. "Mom, I have my own room. Dad, look how big the backyard is. We can plant trees." Leonard and I hugged in the empty living room. "We did it," he said to me. "We have a home." And we did. For years we were happy there. I got a job at a fabric store. I did alterations and custom sewing. Leonard stayed at the mill, but he got a promotion. He earned a little more, enough to live without worry, to pay for Jake's education. Our son finished high school with good grades. He wanted to study business administration. Leonard was so proud. My son is going to college. My son is going to get a degree. My son is not going to work with his hands like me. We paid his tuition, his books, his bus fare, everything. It was tough on our wallet, but it was worth it. We were investing in his future, in him having a better life than ours. Jake was 21 years old when Leonard started feeling sick. Fatigue, chest pain, shortness of breath. At first, we thought it was the job. Too many hours standing, too much physical effort. But it got worse. One day, he collapsed at the mill. They took him straight to the hospital. Heart failure. That's what the doctor said. Leonard's heart was failing. He needed expensive medications, rest, constant care, maybe surgery. The expenses piled up. I sold my jewelry, the few pieces I had. A ring my mother gave me. Gold earrings Leonard gave me when Jake was born. Everything went to consultations and medicines. Leonard lasted 6 months. He passed away early one October morning. I was asleep beside him. I woke up and he was gone. That's how silently he left, without saying goodbye, without a farewell. I was left alone with Jake. He was 23 years old. He was in his last year of college. I told him not to worry, that I would take care of everything, that he should finish his studies, that it was what his father would have wanted. I worked harder than ever. I took every order I could get. I sewed late into the night. I slept 3 or 4 hours. The rest of the time I was at the machine. Quinceañera dresses, costumes for school festivals, nursing uniforms, curtains, tablecloths, anything. I couldn't afford to turn down anything. Jake graduated. I was there at the ceremony, alone, without Leonard, but proud. My son has a college degree. I did it. We did it. After graduation, Jake got a job at a logistics company. He didn't earn much at first, but it was a start. He moved into a shared apartment with other guys. I stayed alone in the house. For the first time in years, the house was silent. A heavy silence. Empty. I kept working. I kept sewing. It was the only thing I knew how to do, the only thing that kept me busy, that kept me from thinking too much about the loneliness. Jake came to visit on Sundays. We ate together. He told me about his job, about his plans. He wanted to grow in the company, make a career, earn more. I listened to him happily. My son is getting ahead. All the sacrifice was worth it. It was during one of those visits when he told me he had met someone, a co-worker, Melissa. He wanted me to meet her. He brought her the following Sunday. She was young, pretty, well-dressed. She smiled a lot, maybe too much. She talked about her plans with Jake, about how they wanted to live, about the house they wanted to have, about the car they wanted to buy, about the trips they wanted to take. Everything was I want, I want, I want. Nothing about we have or we have achieved. Only future plans, dreams without foundation. Something in my stomach twisted that day, but I kept quiet. Jake looked at her with adoration. He was in love. And I wasn't going to be the bitter mother-in-law who ruins her son's happiness. They got married the following year. A medium-sized wedding in a rented hall. I paid for part of the expenses. I didn't have much, but I gave what I could. He was the only son I had, the only family I had left. At first, everything seemed fine. Jake continued to visit me. Melissa came with him. Always very kind, always very proper. She brought me flowers. She helped me set the table. She asked about my health. She seemed like a good woman. But things changed when Melissa became pregnant. Suddenly the visits became less frequent. Jake was busy. Melissa was tired. They needed to save. They needed to prepare for the baby. I understood, or so I told myself. Chloe was born in March, a beautiful girl. When I saw her for the first time at the hospital, my heart melted. She was identical to Jake when he was born. The same eyes, the same small nose. My granddaughter, my blood. The first few months were difficult for them. Melissa wasn't sleeping. Jake was exhausted from work and sleepless nights. Money was tight. Diapers were expensive. Formula was expensive. Everything was expensive. I helped them however I could. I brought them food. I gave them baby clothes that I bought at the market. I gave them money when I could. Not much, but something. I wanted them to know they weren't alone. Chloe was 6 months old when Jake came to see me alone, without Melissa, without the baby. He sat at the kitchen table. He didn't look me in the eye. Mum, I need to ask you something. Of course, son. Whatever you need. The thing is, we're really tight on money. The apartment where we live is very expensive. And with Chloe, we need more space. Melissa says she can't go on like this. She's going crazy in that small place. I nodded, waiting. We could stay here, with you, just a few months. Until we save up for a down payment on something of our own, we'd pay you some rent and help with expenses. My heart sped up. Part of me jumped with joy. My son, my granddaughter, in my house. I wouldn't be alone. I would have family nearby. But another part, a small and quiet part, felt fear. Of course, son, this is your house. You can stay as long as you need. Jake smiled. He hugged me. Thank you, Mum. You don't know how much this means to us. They moved in the following week. The first few days were good, almost perfect. It was nice to hear noise in the house again, to hear Chloe babbling, to see Jake come home from work, to have someone to eat dinner with. I wasn't alone anymore. I no longer ate staring at the wall in silence. I had family with me. Melissa seemed grateful. She helped me cook. We washed the dishes together. We sat in the living room in the evenings while Chloe slept. We talked about recipes, about the baby, about simple things. I thought maybe I had been wrong about her. Maybe she was a good woman after all. But things started to change, slowly, so slowly that I barely noticed. First it was the living room. Melissa said they needed space for Chloe's things, the playpen, the toys, the high chair. Of course, I said. Put whatever you need. She moved my favorite armchair, the one by the window. She shoved it against the wall. It's not in the way there. She put the playpen exactly where my armchair had been. Then it was the kitchen. Melissa said she needed to reorganize everything, that it was more practical for her since she cooked often. She moved my pots, my dishes, my cups. Everything I had arranged for 20 years. She put it where she wanted, where it suited her. I would look for things, and they weren't where they had always been. She started buying things without asking me. A new microwave, an expensive blender, appliances that filled the kitchen counter. We don't have space for all this, I said once. She looked at me as if I were being difficult. It's just that what you had was very old, Ellie. This is better. More modern. She stopped calling me mother-in-law. She started calling me by my name. Ellie, plainly, without affection, as if we were roommates, as if she weren't the mother of her husband. Jake didn't say anything. He came home tired from work. He ate dinner, he watched television, he went to sleep. He didn't notice the changes, or he didn't want to notice. Then it was my room, the master bedroom, the one with its own bathroom and a view of the garden. One day Melissa walked in while I was folding laundry. She stood at the door looking around. This room is very big, Ellie. Yes, it's comfortable. We are very cramped in Jake's old room. With Chloe's crib, we barely fit. And she's growing. Soon she's going to need a real bed. I felt a knot in my stomach. I knew where this was going. You could move to the back room. The small one. After all, you're alone. You don't need so much space. And there are 3 of us. It would be fairer. Fair. That word burned in my chest. Fair in my own house. Fair to give up my room. The one I shared with Leonard. The one I painted myself. The one with the window where the sun comes in every morning. But I didn't say anything. I just nodded. All right. I'll move. It took me 2 days to move my things. Jake helped me carry the dresser. Thanks, Mum, he said. This helps a lot. Melissa was already cleaning my room before I finished taking everything out. She hung new curtains. She put on new sheets. She erased every trace of me in less than an hour. The back room is small, dark. It faces the water heater. You can hear the dripping all night. It doesn't have a closet. I had to put my clothes in boxes. The bed barely fits. But I told myself it was temporary, just a few months. Soon they would leave and I would get my space back. 3 months passed, then 6. They weren't leaving. They never talked about leaving. When I asked how the savings for their apartment were going, Jake changed the subject. It's hard, Mum. Everything is very expensive. We need more time. Melissa started inviting people over to the house. Her friends, her sisters. They came on Saturdays. They stayed for hours. They drank coffee. They laughed loudly. They used my cups. They left everything dirty. I cleaned up after they left. One afternoon, I heard one of them ask, "Is this house yours, Melissa?" "No, it's my mother-in-law's, but we live here." The other woman said something I couldn't hear. Melissa laughed. "We'll see, we'll see." Those words kept echoing in my mind. We'll see what? What was she planning? Jake started coming home later. He said there was traffic, that he had meetings, that work was tough. But he smelled of beer. He came home with red eyes, with wrinkled clothes. Melissa didn't say anything to him. She didn't seem to care. I took care of Chloe every afternoon. Melissa said she needed to rest. That being with a child all day exhausted her. She went out. She didn't say where. She returned hours later with shopping bags, new clothes, shoes, makeup. She was spending money that they supposedly didn't have. Chloe started calling me Mum. I was the one who fed her, the one who bathed her, the one who put her to sleep. Melissa got angry. "Don't teach her to call you that. I am her mother." I explained that the child said it herself, that I wasn't teaching her anything. But Melissa didn't believe me. She started keeping Chloe away from me. When the child came to look for me, Melissa would call her. "Come with Mum. Leave Grandma alone. She has things to do." Chloe cried. She wanted to stay with me. But Melissa insisted. The child learned not to look for me when her mother was near. The house bills started going up. Electricity, water, gas. Melissa used the washing machine 3 times a day. She left the lights on throughout the house. She took showers twice a day with the water heater on maximum. When the bills arrived, I got scared. It's almost $200 for electricity. How can it be so much? Jake said he would pay half, but he never did. There was always an excuse. "This month is tough, Mum. I'll pay you for 2 months next month." But the next month arrived, and the story repeated itself. I ended up paying for everything. My savings were starting to run out. Melissa decided they needed a car. Jake said they didn't have the money for a down payment. She insisted. "Everyone has a car. We can't keep using public transportation. It looks bad." They ended up buying a used car. "We took out a loan," Jake told me. "We'll pay it in 3 years." The car was parked in my garage. The garage where Leonard's car used to be. The one I had to sell after he died because I couldn't afford to keep it. Now there was another car there. But it wasn't mine. Melissa started complaining about everything. "The house is old. The furniture is ugly. The walls need paint. The bathroom is outdated. You should remodel, Ellie. Do something. This looks like an old person's house." I didn't have money to remodel. I barely had enough for the bills and food, but she insisted. "If you're not going to fix up the house, at least let us do it. We can pay little by little, make improvements." Jake hired a contractor. They started tearing down walls, changing floors, painting. I hadn't authorized any of that, but it was already done. The contractor handed me the bill. Melissa had told him I would pay. $500, $700, $900. My savings were disappearing. When I complained, Jake got angry. "We're improving your house, Mum. You should be grateful. This increases the property's value. You're going to leave it to us anyway someday. Why are you complaining?" Those words hurt more than a punch. "You're going to leave it to us someday." As if I were already dead. As if this house were already theirs. As if I were just taking up space until I was gone. Melissa started making decisions without consulting me. She changed the refrigerator. She bought a new living room set. She threw away my potted plants in the backyard because they were ugly. She put in other plants, other things. Everything to her taste. I watched from the window of my small room as my house transformed into something I didn't recognize. On Sundays, Melissa invited her family, her parents, her siblings. They filled the backyard. They had barbecues. They drank beer. They laughed. I stayed in my room. Nobody invited me out. Nobody called me for food. When I went out to get water, they looked at me as if I were interrupting, as if I shouldn't be there. One afternoon, Melissa's mother asked me, "How long have you been living here, Ellie?" I was confused. "All my life. This is my house." The woman laughed awkwardly. "Oh, right, of course. It's just that Melissa talks about this house as if it were hers." I got confused. Jake started shouting at me. Over small things, over nothing. If he didn't like the food, if I made noise in the morning, if I asked a question. He raised his voice. He talked to me as if I were a silly child. Melissa watched and didn't say anything. Sometimes she smiled. Chloe was almost 2 years old. She no longer sought me out. Melissa had trained her well. When I tried to pick her up, the child turned her face away. She preferred her mother. Sometimes I watched her play in the backyard from my window. I wanted to go out, play with her. But I knew Melissa would get upset. I stopped cooking. Melissa said she would take care of the food, that I was too old to be in the kitchen so long, that I should rest. It sounded thoughtful, but it wasn't. It was another way to push me out, to take another space away from me. Now I couldn't even decide what to eat in my own house. Things got worse when Chloe turned 3 years old. Melissa organized a big party in the backyard. She invited all her family, her friends, the neighbors. She rented bounce houses. She hired a clown. She bought food for 50 people. I didn't participate in anything. Nobody asked for my opinion. Nobody asked if I agreed. They just told me there would be a party on Saturday, as if I were a tenant being notified of an event. On the day of the party, I stayed in my room. I listened to the music, the laughter, the shouts of the children playing. I peeked out the window once. I saw Chloe in a pink dress, blowing out the candles on her cake. Everyone was singing. Everyone was clapping. I wasn't there. I went out later to go to the bathroom. I crossed the living room. Some people looked at me. A lady asked me if I was the grandmother. I nodded. "What a lovely party your daughter-in-law threw, right? What a beautiful backyard she has. This house is gorgeous." "Thank you," I murmured. But it wasn't my party. It wasn't my decorations. Nothing was mine anymore. Melissa saw me walk by. She didn't greet me. She continued talking to her guests. Jake was by the grill with his brothers-in-law. They were drinking beer. They were laughing loudly. He didn't even turn to look at me. When I returned to my room, I heard someone ask, "And the lady who lives here, where is she?" Melissa responded. "Oh, she's resting. She's elderly now. She gets very tired." As if I were an invalid, as if I couldn't be in my own backyard because I was too old. That night when everyone left, it was my job to clean up. Melissa said she was exhausted. Jake said he had to work early the next day. I picked up the dirty plates, the empty bottles, the leftover food. I cleaned the tables. I swept the backyard. It took me hours. My back ached. But nobody helped me. The next day, Jake asked me for money. I need $200, Mum. What for, son? Expenses. Things for Chloe. The party cost more than we thought. I felt something break inside me. You're asking me for money for a party I wasn't even invited to. Jake frowned. What do you mean you weren't invited? You were here. You could have come out whenever you wanted. I didn't lock you up. But nobody called me. Nobody included me. He shrugged. Don't be dramatic, Mum. You always exaggerate everything. I didn't give him the money. It was the first time I had ever said no to him. Jake got angry. He left, slamming the door. Melissa came in afterward. I heard everything. Don't you realize you're being very selfish? Jake works hard. He makes an effort. And you don't even support him. You only think about yourself. I work too, I replied. I pay the bills for this house, the bills you run up. Melissa laughed. Please, Ellie. You work? You do some sewing once in a while. We are the ones supporting this house. That's not true. You don't pay anything. You live here for free. You eat for free. You spend my money as if it were yours. Melissa looked at me with contempt. You know what? You're bitter because you're alone, because nobody needs you anymore. You should be grateful we're here, that we keep you company. If it weren't for us, you'd be dying of loneliness here. Her words pierced me. I wanted to answer. I wanted to defend myself. But my voice failed me. Melissa left. I stayed standing in the kitchen, shaking. I didn't eat dinner that night. I locked myself in my room. I cried in silence. For the first time, I thought about leaving, about giving up everything. But where would I go? I didn't have anyone else. This was my house, my only place in the world. The following days were tense. Jake wouldn't speak to me. Melissa wouldn't either. They ignored me. When I entered a room, they left. When I tried to talk to Chloe, Melissa took her away. Come on, my love. Grandma's busy. One afternoon, a bank statement arrived. A loan I hadn't requested. $5,000. In my name. With my signature. Or something that looked like my signature. I called the bank. They told me the loan had been approved 2 months ago, that the money was already in my account. But I hadn't seen that money. It wasn't in my account. I looked for my papers, the house documents, my bank account statements, my ID. They weren't where I had left them. I searched all over my room for them. They didn't show up. I felt panic. Someone had taken my documents. Someone had taken out a loan in my name. I went to find Jake. He was in the living room watching television. Jake, I need to talk to you. What is it, Mum? I'm watching something. It's important. A bank statement arrived. A loan I didn't request. Jake didn't look at me. Oh, yeah. I took it out. We needed money to fix the roof. It was leaking. But it's a loan in my name. Without my permission. That's illegal, Jake. You can't do that. He finally turned to look at me. Oh, Mum, don't exaggerate. I'm your son. Why do you need permission? Besides, it's for the house. Your house. It benefits you, too. You stole my identity. You forged my signature. Jake stood up. His face changed. Just shut up. I'm sick of your complaints. Sick of everything bothering you. Sick of you always making things difficult. He had never spoken to me like that. Never with such violence. I took a step back. Jake followed me. You know what your problem is? You think you still call the shots here, that this house is yours. But it's not anymore. You don't decide anything anymore. I run things here. Melissa and I. You only live here because we allow it. His words hit me harder than any punch. Jake, this is my house. It's in my name. I built it. I paid for it. He laughed, a cold laugh. Bitter. For now. But we'll see how long that lasts. I wanted to say something, defend myself, but Melissa walked in. What's going on? Why are you shouting? Jake pointed at me. Your mother-in-law is hysterical because I took out a loan. Melissa sighed. Oh, Ellie. Always making drama. That money was used for the house, so it wouldn't leak everywhere. You should be grateful. I am not grateful. You are robbing me. You are using my name, my documents, my credit. This is not legal. Melissa crossed her arms. You're going to sue us? Your own son? Your granddaughter's mother? Go ahead. Do it. You'll look like the worst mother in the world, the worst grandmother. Nobody will believe you, Jake added. Besides, who says you didn't authorize that loan? Who says you didn't forget? You're old now, Mum. You forget a lot of things. Maybe you even signed and just don't remember. No, that's not true. I didn't sign anything. You forged my signature. Melissa came closer. Her voice turned soft, poisonous. Ellie, you are 64 years old. You live alone. Well, you did live alone. You have no one else but us. Think carefully. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Who is going to take care of you when you're older? When you can't manage on your own, you're going to need us. You better treat us well. I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. It was a clear threat. Either I shut up and obeyed, or I would be left alone, abandoned, with no one. I went to my room. I locked the door. I sat on the bed. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would jump out of my chest. They had crossed a line. It was no longer just an invasion. It was no longer just disrespect. Now it was theft. It was fraud. It was abuse. But they were right about one thing. I had no one else. I had no family. My friends were few, and they all had their own problems. I couldn't show up knocking on their doors asking for help. And report them. Report my own son. How could I do that? What would people say? What would they think of me? I spent days thinking, pondering, looking for a way out that I couldn't find. Jake still wouldn't talk to me. Melissa treated me with contempt. Chloe wouldn't even look at me anymore. I was a ghost in my own house. One night I heard Jake and Melissa talking in their room. I was in the hallway. I was going to the bathroom. They had left the door ajar. Melissa's voice was clear. How much longer are we going to put up with her? I'm sick of her already, always complaining, always getting in the way, Jake replied. I don't know, but the house is in her name. We can't do anything until... He paused. Melissa finished the sentence. Until she dies? Or until we convince her to sign it over to you? How do we convince her? Jake sounded tired. I don't know. By telling her it's for her own good, that she'll be protected that way. That if something happens to her, the house is already secured for us, for Chloe, something like that. Or can we get her to sign when she's distracted, like we did with the loan? I froze. They had planned it. Everything. The loan. The documents. They wanted to take my house. They wanted me to sign the papers. And if I didn't do it willingly, they would do it by force. I returned to my room without making a sound. I locked the door. I could barely breathe. My own son, my own flesh and blood, planning to rob me, planning to leave me with nothing. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed sitting on the bed, thinking, planning. I needed to protect myself. I needed to do something. But what? I didn't know yet. But something inside me had changed. I was no longer afraid. I was furious. 2 weeks passed after I heard that conversation. 2 weeks in which I acted as if nothing had happened. As if I didn't know their plans. As if I was still the silly, submissive mother they thought I was. But inside, something had shifted. I was no longer the same. I started keeping my important documents somewhere else. I put them in a plastic bag and hid them in the toilet tank. No one would look there. I made copies of the house deeds when Melissa went shopping. I went to a print shop downtown. I made 3 copies. I left one with Doris. I told her to keep them, not to tell anyone. She looked at me worriedly, but didn't ask questions. She just nodded. Jake came home one night with papers in his hand. He was in a good mood. He was smiling. It had been weeks since he had smiled at me like that. "Mum, come here, sit down. I need you to look at something." I sat at the kitchen table. My heart was pounding fast. I knew what he was coming for. He put the papers in front of me. "Look. I spoke with a lawyer. He says it would be good for you to put the house in my name. Well, in our names. Yours and mine, as co-owners. That way, if something happens to you, God forbid, the house won't go through lengthy paperwork. I can take care of everything then. It's safer for you, for everyone." I read the papers. They were documents for the transfer of rights. If I signed that, the house would no longer be just mine. It would be Jake's too. And as soon as I died, or as soon as he wanted, he could do whatever he wanted with it. He could sell it, rent it, kick me out. I looked up. Jake was looking at me anxiously. Melissa was standing in the kitchen doorway, watching, waiting. "I'm not going to sign this." Jake's smile faded. "Why not? It's for your own good, Mum." "No, Jake. It's for your own good. For your benefit. I am not signing anything." Jake slammed his hand on the table. The noise made me jump. "You're always the same. Always suspicious. Always thinking we're trying to screw you over. I'm your son. Your only son. I'm looking out for you. I'm protecting you. And this is how you repay me? I don't need you to protect me from anything. This house is mine. I built it. I paid for it. And it will continue to be mine until I decide what to do with it." Melissa walked into the kitchen. Her face showed fury. "You know what, Ellie? I'm tired of you. Of your attitude. Of your selfishness. We live here. We take care of this house. We pay for things. And you don't even have the decency to secure what will be your son's anyway. You don't pay for anything. I pay for everything. The bills. The food. Everything. You just spend. You just take. You just destroy." Melissa laughed, a cruel laugh. "Oh, please, what do you pay for? With what? With your little sewing gigs? With your miserable little pension? We maintain this house. We've improved it. If it were up to you, this place would still be a dump." Jake stood up. He walked up to me. "That's enough, Mum. You are going to sign those papers. Today. Now." "I am not signing anything. Get out of my house if you don't like how things are here." Jake stood still. He looked at me as if he didn't recognize me. Then his face changed. It turned red. His eyes darkened. Your house. This is not your house anymore. It's our house. And if anyone is leaving here, it's you. I got up from the chair. I wanted to move away, go to my room, lock myself in. But Jake blocked my path. Move, Jake. I'm not moving. Are you going to sign those papers, or I swear you're going to regret it? I'm not signing anything. Get out of my way. Jake pushed me. It was a strong push, violent. I lost my balance. My back hit the wall. My head struck the tile. I felt a sharp pain, blinding. I heard a scream. It was Chloe. She was standing in the hallway. She had seen everything. Grandma! Her voice sounded scared, terrified. Melissa ran toward her. Go to your room, Chloe, now! But Mom, go, I said! The girl ran away, crying. I heard her bedroom door close. I touched my head. I felt something wet. Blood. I was bleeding. Jake stood in front of me, breathing heavily. He didn't look sorry. He didn't look worried. He just looked furious. Melissa spoke. Her voice was cold, calm. You see what you caused, Ellie. You see what you do. You get Jake worked up like this. You push his buttons. This is your fault. I didn't do anything. You are robbing me. You are attacking me in my own house. Melissa shrugged. No one is attacking you. You fell. That's all. You lost your balance. You're an older woman. These things happen. Jake pushed me. You both saw it. Chloe saw it. Melissa shook her head. Chloe didn't see anything. She's a child. She gets confused. And we didn't see anything either. We just saw you fall. You should be more careful. I understood at that moment. They were never going to admit anything. They were never going to accept what they had done. They could hurt me. They could rob me. They could do whatever they wanted. And they would always blame me. They would always twist the truth. I went to my room. I locked the door. I sat on the bed. My whole body was shaking. I wiped the blood from my head with a towel. It wasn't a big wound, but it hurt. It hurt a lot. I heard Jake and Melissa talking in low voices. Then I heard them laugh. They were laughing. After what had just happened, they were laughing. I heard music. They had turned on the stereo. They were celebrating. I stayed there, sitting, in silence, thinking. I couldn't go on like this. I couldn't stay in this house for another day. If I stayed, I would end up dead. Or worse. They would get me to sign the papers. They would take everything from me, and I would be left with nothing. No house, no dignity, nothing. I waited for them to fall asleep. It was almost 2 minutes past midnight when I stopped hearing noise. I got up. I took out my bag. The same one I had prepared in my mind for days. I put in clothes, medications, the documents I had hidden in the bathroom, money. I had about $1,200 saved in cash. Everything I had managed to save without them knowing. I opened my bedroom door slowly. The house was dark, silent. I walked down the hallway. I passed Chloe's room. I wanted to go in. I wanted to say goodbye. But I couldn't. If I woke her up, Melissa would notice, and they wouldn't let me leave. I reached the living room. I saw my furniture, my table, my things, everything that had been mine. It wasn't anymore. It didn't belong to me anymore. This house was no longer my home. It was my prison. I opened the front door. The cold night air hit my face. I stepped outside. I closed the door behind me. It was the saddest sound of my life, the sound of leaving behind everything I had built, everything I had loved. I walked down the empty street. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. I had to get out of there before it was too late. My legs ached, my head throbbed, but I kept walking. I reached Doris's house. I knocked on the door. I waited. I heard footsteps inside. The porch light turned on. Doris opened the door. She was wearing an old robe. Her hair was messy. She looked at me. She saw my bag. She saw my face. She saw the wound on my head. "Oh my God, Ellie! What did they do to you?" She didn't say anything else. She pulled me inside. She closed the door. She hugged me. And there, in the arms of my neighbor, in the arms of the only person who had shown me compassion, I broke down. I cried. I cried everything I hadn't cried in months. All the pain, all the humiliation, all the betrayal. Doris took me to her guest room. She gave me clean clothes. She cleaned my wound. She made me tea. She sat with me until I stopped shaking. She didn't ask me questions. She just took care of me. Like a sister, like a true friend. I lay down in that strange bed. I closed my eyes, but I couldn't sleep. In my head, I only heard Jake and Melissa's laughter. I heard them celebrating that I was gone, celebrating that they were finally rid of me. But there was something else, something burning inside me. It wasn't just sadness, it wasn't just pain. It was rage, pure rage. They thought they had won. They thought they had defeated me, that I was a weak old woman who would give up. But they were wrong. I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to let them keep my house, my life, everything I had built. I was going to fight. I was going to get back what was mine. I was going to show them that they made a mistake they would regret. I woke up with my body aching, every muscle hurt. My head throbbed where I had hit it. I got up slowly. I looked around. Doris's room was small but clean, cozy, so different from the dark room where I had slept the last few years in my own house. Doris knocked softly on the door. "Ellie, are you awake? Come in." She entered with a tray, hot tea, toast, scrambled eggs. "Eat something, please. You'll get sick if you don't eat." I sat on the bed. I took the cup of tea. My hands were still shaking a little. "Thank you, Doris. You don't know how much this means." She sat next to me. "We're friends, Ellie. That's what we're here for. What did that boy do to you? What did your son do to you?" I told her everything, from the beginning, from when they came to live in my house. The slow invasion, the abuse, the fake loan, the papers they wanted me to sign, the shove, the blood. Doris listened to me in silence. Her face hardened with every word. "That's abuse, Ellie. That's mistreatment. You have to report him." "I can't report my own son." "Yes, you can, and you should. He assaulted you. He robbed you. He is taking your house from you. That is a crime." "But he's my son, Doris. He's the only family I have." "He is no longer your family. Family doesn't do that. Family doesn't hit you. Doesn't rob you. Doesn't make you feel like you're in the way in your own house." Her words struck me. She was right. I was still clinging to the idea that Jake was my son, that blood was thicker than water. But blood meant nothing if it came with violence, with betrayal, with contempt. I stayed at Doris's house that day, and the next. I felt paralyzed. I didn't know what to do, where to go, how to start over at 64 years old. Doris gave me space. She let me think. She brought me food. She cared for me without smothering me. On the third day, I was sitting in her living room, looking out the window, thinking about nothing and everything at the same time. Doris came in from outside. She had her cell phone in her hand. Her face was tense, serious. "Ellie, you have to see this." She handed me the phone. On the screen was a photo of my house, of my backyard. But it wasn't my backyard. It was full of people, long tables with coloured tablecloths, beer bottles everywhere, a smoking grill, balloons hung from the trees, music. I could almost hear the music from the photo. "What is this?" Doris sat down next to me. "My niece sent me this an hour ago. She says your son and daughter-in-law are having a party, since this morning, that there are a lot of people, a lot of music, a lot of noise." I felt something break inside me. 3 days, barely 3 days since I left. 3 days since they assaulted me. 3 days since I left my house bleeding. And they were already partying, celebrating. She showed me more photos, one of Jake next to the grill with a beer in his hand, smiling, laughing. Another of Melissa with a group of friends, all with wine glasses. Another of the backyard full of people, strangers in my garden, stepping on the plants I planted, using my tables, my chairs, everything. Doris showed me a video. The sound was loud, band music, laughter, shouts. And then I heard Melissa's voice, clear, loud. "Finally, we are finally rid of her. Now this house is ours. Now we can live how we want. Without anyone watching us, without anyone making things difficult for us. Cheers to freedom." I heard the sound of glasses clinking. I heard more laughter, more shouts of celebration. The video ended. I kept staring at the black screen. My heart was pounding so hard I felt it would jump out of my chest. They are celebrating that I left. My voice sounded strange, distant. They are celebrating. Doris nodded. "It looks like it." "I'm sorry, Ellie. I know it hurts. But you needed to see this. You needed to know what kind of people they are." I stood up. I walked around the living room. My hands were clenched into fists. My jaw was tense. Something inside me was transforming. The pain was turning into something else, into something stronger, darker, more powerful. "How long has the party been going on?" "Since 10 o'clock this morning, according to my niece. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon now." "That's 5 hours. 5 hours. 5 hours of celebration. 5 hours laughing at me. 5 hours enjoying my house as if it were theirs. As if I had never existed. As if I were dead." "Ellie, what are you thinking?" Doris's voice sounded worried. I turned to look at her. "I'm thinking I made a mistake." "What mistake?" "The mistake of leaving in silence. The mistake of running away like a thief. As if I were the one who was wrong. As if I were the guilty one." Doris stood up. She approached me. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to get my house back. I'm going to kick them out. I'm going to show them that they messed with the wrong person." "But how? You don't have money. You don't have a lawyer. They have everything. They have your house, your things, everything. I have something better. I have the truth. I have the documents that prove that house is mine. I have this wound on my head. I have the bank statements that show I pay for everything. I have witnesses. I have proof." Doris looked at me with something in her eyes. Respect, perhaps. Admiration. "You need help. I know a lawyer. A good one. She specializes in cases of family abuse and fraud. I can call her." "Call her." Doris took out her phone. She dialed a number. She spoke in a low voice. She explained the situation. She listened. She nodded. She hung up. She can see us today. Now. She has an open slot. She says it sounds urgent, that the faster we act, the better. Let's go. I put on a sweater. I grabbed my bag. I put in all the documents I had saved. The copies of the deeds, the bank statements, the old photos of my house. Everything that could be useful. We went in Doris's car. The lawyer's office was downtown, an old but well-maintained building. We went up to the 3rd floor. The office was small, full of books, of files. A woman in her 50s greeted us, short hair, glasses, serious but kind face. You must be Eleanor Miller. I am. Please have a seat. Tell me everything, from the beginning. I told her my story, again, with more details. I showed her the documents, the photos, the videos Doris had on her phone. The lawyer took notes. She asked questions. Her face showed no emotion, only professional concentration. When I finished, she was silent for a moment. Then she spoke. You have a strong case, Mrs. Miller. Very strong. Fraud, forgery of signature, physical abuse, property invasion, dispossession. I can help you, but I need you to understand something. This is going to be difficult. It's going to be painful. You're going to have to face your son. Take him to court, maybe to jail. Are you willing to do that? I was silent, thinking, imagining Jake behind bars, Chloe without a father, Melissa alone. Part of me felt guilt, pain. But then I remembered the shove, the blood, the laughter, the party, the video of Melissa toasting my absence. Yes, I am willing. The lawyer nodded. Good. Then let's start. First, I need you to sign these papers. You are hiring me as your legal representative. Then we will prepare a lawsuit. And we are going to request a temporary eviction order. With the evidence you have, we can get a judge to remove them from your house while the case is resolved. How long does that take? Normally weeks. But with the party they are having right now, and with your recent injury, we can request an emergency order. We could have it today, in a few hours. Today. My voice trembled. Today. The lawyer looked me straight in the eyes. Mrs. Miller, they are on your property without your permission. They assaulted you. They forced you to flee. They are having a party, celebrating your departure while you are here, homeless, without your things. That is illegal. That is cruel. And a judge will see it that way. Trust me. I signed the papers. The lawyer made calls. She spoke with a judge, with the police, with social services. She worked quickly, efficiently, like a well-oiled machine. I stayed seated, watching, feeling how something was shifting, how the power was changing hands. I was no longer the victim fleeing. I was the owner reclaiming what was hers. 3 hours later, the lawyer hung up the phone. She smiled, a small smile, professional. We have it. The judge approved the emergency eviction order. We have permission to enter your property accompanied by the police. We can do it right now, this afternoon, during the party. During the party? I repeated the words. Yes, while everyone is there. All the witnesses, all the proof that they are illegally occupying your property. It is the best time. They will be caught off guard. They won't be able to hide anything. They won't be able to deny anything. Doris took my hand. Are you sure, Ellie? Are you ready for this? I looked out the window. The sun was starting to set. It would be night soon. The time would soon come. The moment to return, to face them, to reclaim. Yes. I am ready. The lawyer's name was Elizabeth Vance. She had 20 years of experience in family and property law cases. She told me while preparing the last documents, "I have seen cases like yours dozens of times, Mrs. Miller. Children who abuse their parents, who dispossess them, who mistreat them, and it is always the same. Parents are afraid to act, afraid of being left alone, afraid of what people will say. But you are doing the right thing, the brave thing." "I don't feel brave. I feel scared. That's normal. But fear doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's important, that you are reclaiming something worthwhile." Liz made more calls. She coordinated with the police. "We need 2 patrol cars. An eviction order, presence of a social worker in case there are minors on the property. Yes, there is a child. My client's granddaughter, 9 years old. Good. Then also Child Protective Services, just as observers, to make sure everything is done correctly." Every word she said made everything more real, more concrete. It was no longer just an idea. It was a plan that was going to be executed in a matter of hours. Doris squeezed my hand. "You're going to be okay. I'm going to be with you. I'm not going to leave you alone." "Thank you. I don't know what I would do without you." She smiled. "That's what friends are for." Liz put the papers in a briefcase. "Ready? I'll meet you at your address at 6 o'clock this evening. The police have already been notified. The social worker too. Everything is coordinated. You just have to be there. Sign what is necessary. And let the law do its job." We left the office. It was 4:30. We had an hour and a half. Doris suggested we go eat something. "You haven't eaten properly in days, Ellie. You need strength." We went to a small diner nearby. I ordered chicken soup. I could barely eat. My stomach was knotted. The nerves were eating me up inside. "You're thinking about Chloe." Doris's voice was gentle. She knew exactly what was going through my head. "Yes, all the time. She's going to be there. She's going to see everything. She's going to see her dad being removed from the house. She's going to see me arrive with the police. How do I explain that to her? How do I make her understand that it's not her fault? Liz said the social worker will look out for her. She will make sure she is okay. That they don't traumatize her more than necessary. But she's already traumatized, Doris. She already saw her father hit me. She already lives in a violent environment. She already knows something is wrong. That's why it's important for you to do this. To get her out of there. To show her that abuse is not tolerated. That there are consequences. That women don't have to put up with it. That grandmothers don't either. She was right. This wasn't just for me. It was for Chloe, too. To teach her that she deserved to grow up in a home without violence, without shouting, without fear. Even if that home no longer included her father. We finished eating. Doris paid the bill. I wasn't hungry, but I had eaten enough not to faint. I needed to be strong. I needed to be clear-headed. This was the most important thing I had done in years, maybe in my whole life. We got in the car. Doris drove slowly. We arrived at my street at 5:40. We parked 3 houses before mine. From there we could see. The party was still going. There were still people. There was still music. There was still laughter. My heart was pounding so hard I felt it was going to explode. I took a deep breath. Once. Twice. 3 times. Doris looked at me from the corner of her eye. "Do you want to wait in the car? You can come out when the police arrive." "No, I want to see everything. I want to be present from the beginning." At 6 o'clock exactly, the first patrol car arrived. It parked in front of my house. Two police officers got out. An older man, a young woman. Behind came another car. It was Liz. She had more papers, a briefcase, serious and professional face. A third vehicle arrived, a white SUV. A woman with a folder got out of it. The social worker. Well, the social worker. She approached Liz. They talked briefly. They checked papers. Liz saw me in Doris's car. She signaled me. It was time. I got out of the car. My legs were shaking. Doris got out with me. We walked toward the group. The neighbors were starting to come out of their houses, to watch, to murmur. They knew something was happening. Liz introduced me to everyone. Mrs. Miller, this is Officer Ramirez. This is Officer Torres. And this is Ms. Sanchez from Social Services. They are all here to support you. To make sure everything is done according to the law. Officer Ramirez spoke. Her voice was firm, but not cruel. Ma'am, I need you to confirm that this is your property, that the documents are in order, and that the people inside do not have your authorization to be there. Yes. This is my house. It is in my name. I have the deeds here, and they came in with my permission years ago, but now they have assaulted me. They have robbed me. They have forced me out. I don't want them here anymore. Understood. We will proceed. You stay back with your lawyer. We will take care of it. If there is resistance, we will withdraw and call for backup. But usually when they see the patrol cars, they cooperate. I nodded. I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up. The four of them walked toward my house, toward the front door. I stayed behind with Doris. My heart was beating a mile a minute. I could hear the music from outside. Voices, laughter, unaware of what was about to happen. Officer Torres knocked on the door. Hard. 3 dry knocks. The music continued. No one answered. He knocked again. Harder. Police, open the door. The music lowered. I heard footsteps. The door opened. It was Jake. He had a beer in his hand, red face from the alcohol, a smile on his lips. The smile vanished when he saw the uniforms. Good afternoon. I am Officer Torres. We have a court order. I need you to step outside and allow me to enter. Jake froze. What? An order for what? From who? Liz stepped forward. She showed the papers. A temporary eviction order issued by Judge Morales. This property belongs to Mrs. Eleanor Miller. You and your family must vacate immediately. Jake saw me then. I was standing on the street, behind everyone. His face changed. Surprise, then anger. Mum, what did you do? What the heck did you do? Melissa appeared behind him. What's going on, Jake? Who are they? She saw the patrol cars. She saw the police officers. She saw me. Her face turned pale. This is a mistake. This is our house. We live here. You can't kick us out like this. Liz spoke in a calm but firm voice. Ma'am, this property is registered under Eleanor Miller's name. She has the legal right to request your eviction, especially after having been a victim of physical assault and fraud. We have documentation of everything, including the loan you requested in her name without her consent. That's a lie, Melissa almost screamed. She authorized that loan. She lives here. We take care of her. You can't do this. Officer Torres intervened. Ma'am, I need you to cooperate. This is a court order. If you do not comply voluntarily, we will have to use other means. You have 30 minutes to collect your essential belongings. You can retrieve the rest later by appointment and in the presence of an officer. The people at the party started to leave. The guests, confused, scared, some with glasses still in their hands. "What happened? What's going on?" Melissa shouted at them. "Stay. Nothing is happening. You'll see this is a mistake." But people were leaving. Fast. No one wanted to be there. No one wanted trouble with the police. In 10 minutes, the backyard was empty. Only Jake, Melissa, Chloe, and us remained. Chloe came out of her room. Her eyes were red. She had been crying. She saw me. "Grandma!" She ran toward me. The social worker tried to stop her, but I shook my head. I let her come. She hugged my waist. "Please, Grandma, don't let them kick us out. Please." My heart broke into pieces. I knelt down in front of her. "My love, this is not your fault. None of this is your fault. But I can no longer live here with your parents. They hurt me. They injured me. And I have to take care of myself. I have to be safe. But I'll take care of you, Grandma. I'll protect you. I know my life. I know. And I love you. I will always love you. But this is something adults have to resolve. You just have to be a child. You don't have to protect anyone." The social worker approached. She spoke in a gentle voice. "Hello, Chloe. I am Ms. Sanchez. I'm going to make sure you are okay, that your parents and your grandmother resolve this without it affecting you. It's okay. You're going to be fine." Melissa called her. "Chloe, come here. Now. Don't stay with her. This is all her fault." Chloe looked at me, confused, scared. "Go with your mum, my love. It's all right. Go." The girl walked slowly toward Melissa. She looked back at me twice, as if saying goodbye, as if asking me if she would be okay. I smiled at her, even though it hurt, even though I was dying inside. Jake started collecting things. He threw clothes into bags. Melissa was crying. "This is not fair. You have no right. We are going to fight this. We are going to get the house back. You'll see, Ellie. You are going to regret this." Liz replied for me. "Mom, any threat will be documented and used against you. I suggest you cooperate and leave peacefully." The 30 minutes passed like a dream, like a movie. Jake and Melissa took out clothes, Chloe's toys, some personal items. Not much. They couldn't take much. Officer Torres supervised everything. He made sure they didn't take anything that wasn't theirs. When they finished, they left. Jake walked past me without looking at me. Melissa looked at me with pure hatred. "This is not over." "I swear it." Chloe was crying. "Grandma. Grandma, please." They got into their car, the one they had bought with borrowed money, the one they parked in my garage. They drove away. They left. Their taillights disappeared at the end of the street. I stayed standing there, in the middle of the street, in front of my house. My house, which was finally mine again. Officer Ramirez handed me the keys. "They are yours, Mrs. Miller. The house is secured. I recommend you change the locks first thing tomorrow morning, just in case they made copies." I nodded. I took the keys. They weighed more than I remembered. Or maybe it was me who felt lighter. Liz reviewed the final papers. I signed where she indicated. "This is temporary, Mrs. Miller. There will be a hearing in 2 weeks. But with the evidence we have, it is highly likely that the eviction will become permanent. They may try to fight it. But I doubt it. Cases like this rarely favor the aggressor. Thank you, Counselor, for everything." She smiled. "It's my job, and it's the right thing to do. Take care. Call me if anything happens. Any threat. Any attempt at unauthorized contact. It's all on record." The social worker approached. Mrs. Miller, I will be monitoring the minor's situation. Chloe. To make sure she is in a safe environment. If at any point you believe the child is in danger with her parents, notify me. We have options. I will. Thank you. The officers left. Liz left. The social worker left. Only Doris and I remained, standing in front of my house. The backyard was still full of the remains of the party. Plastic cups, empty bottles, plates with half-eaten food, napkins on the ground. The smell of barbecue still hung in the air. Do you want me to stay with you tonight? Doris looked at me worriedly. No. I need to be alone. I need to reclaim my space. But thank you for everything. Without you, I couldn't have done this. She hugged me. You are stronger than you think, Ellie. You always have been. You just needed to remember it. Doris left. I stayed standing in front of the door. My door. I put the key in the lock. I turned it. The sound of the bolt opening was the sweetest sound I had heard in years. I pushed the door open. I walked in. The house was silent. A deep silence. Heavy. But it was not the oppressive silence from before. It was a silence of peace, of freedom. I walked through the living room. I ran my hand over the table, over the armchair that had been mine and that Melissa had moved. I put it back by the window, where it had always been, where it should be. I went to the kitchen. There were dirty dishes everywhere, remains of the party, bottles on the counter, spilled food, a mess. But it was my mess, my kitchen, my house. I started cleaning. I washed the dishes, one by one. I cleaned the counter. I swept the floor. I felt every movement, every gesture. I was reclaiming my space. I was erasing their traces. I went to the master bedroom, the one that had been mine, the one they took from me. Melissa's sheets were still on the bed, her things on the dresser, makeup, perfumes, clothes. I took everything off. I put it in bags. I left them in the hallway. They would come to collect them later. Or not. I didn't care. I put on my own sheets, the ones I had stored. White, clean. They smelled of lavender. I sat on the bed. My bed. In my room. I looked out the window. The garden. The plants. The sky darkening. Everything was there. Everything was still there. And now it was mine again. I went to the small back room, the one that had been my prison. I took out my few things, my clothes, my medications, Leonard's photo. I placed it on the nightstand in the master bedroom, next to the bed, where it had always been. Hello, my love. I'm back. I'm home. I spent the next few hours cleaning, organizing, reclaiming every corner, every space. I threw away the things Melissa had put in, the horrible decorations, the bright cushions, the cheap pictures. I took my things out of the boxes. I put them back in their place, in their correct spot. I cleaned the backyard. I picked up all the cups, all the bottles, all the trash from the party that celebrated my absence, the party that ended in the worst possible way for them. I smiled, a bitter but real smile, deserved. It was 2 minutes past midnight when I finished. I was exhausted. My whole body ached, but it was a good pain, a pain of labor, of recovery. I took a long bath, in my bathroom, with my hot water, without anyone rushing me, without anyone knocking on the door demanding to enter. I put on my favorite pajamas, the ones I hadn't worn in years because Melissa said they looked old. I lay down in my bed, in my room. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, I slept peacefully. I slept soundly. I slept without fear, without anxiety, without worry that someone would enter, that someone would shout at me, that someone would hurt me. I woke up with the sun. It came through the window, through my window. I stretched, I smiled. Today was a new day, the first day of the rest of my life, the first day as the owner of my own house again, of my own life. I made coffee. I ate breakfast calmly. I called a locksmith. He came mid-morning. He changed all the locks, front door, back door, windows, everything. He handed me the new keys. No one else had copies. No one else could enter without my permission. I paid $150. It was the best money I ever spent in my life. Doris came to visit me. She brought sweet bread, coffee. We sat in the backyard. "How did you sleep?" "Like a baby," she smiled. "You look different, Ellie. You look alive." I feel alive. For the first time in years, I feel alive. The following days were calm, beautiful. I resumed my routine, my sewing, my clients, my plants. I watered the garden. I pruned the trees. I fixed what was broken. I painted the walls that Melissa had stained. Little by little, the house became my house again. It regained my essence, my spirit. Jake tried to call me. Several times. I didn't answer. He sent me messages. I didn't read them. Melissa also tried to contact me. I blocked her. Liz had told me that any unauthorized contact should be reported, and that's what I would do if they kept insisting. The hearing was 2 weeks later. Jake and Melissa arrived with a cheap lawyer. They tried to argue that they had improved the property, that they had invested money, that I had invited them to stay. Liz presented all the evidence, the fraudulent loan, the photos of my injury, the testimonies, the videos of the party. The judge took less than 30 minutes to decide. The eviction was permanent. The house was mine. The loan had to be investigated for fraud. Jake could face criminal charges. I left the courthouse with my head held high. Jake looked at me from afar. There was no longer fury in his eyes, only defeat, only shame. Melissa was crying. Chloe was not there. Thank goodness. She didn't have to see this. I returned to my house, my legal house, official, permanently mine. I sat in my armchair, by the window. I looked at the garden. I took a deep breath. I had done it. I had reclaimed my life. I had reclaimed my dignity. I had reclaimed my home. 3 months passed since the hearing. 3 months since I permanently got my house back. 3 months of peace, of chosen silence, of true freedom. The first few days were an adjustment, getting used to being alone again, but this time it was different. Before I was alone and felt empty. Now I was alone and I felt complete. I didn't need anyone else to feel that my life had meaning. I was enough. I resumed my sewing work with more intensity. My clients came back. Some had heard what happened. Gossip travels fast in the neighborhood. But they didn't look at me with pity. They looked at me with respect, with admiration even. Mrs. Miller, who beat her own son. Mrs. Miller, who wouldn't be taken advantage of. Mrs. Miller, who took back what was hers. I earned more money in those 3 months than in the last 2 years. I no longer had to pay the inflated bills by Melissa. I no longer had to give Jake money. I no longer had to fund parties or other people's whims. My money was mine. I spent it on what I wanted, on what I needed. I bought new clothes, not many, but good quality. I had my hair done at a salon. I bought new glasses. I invested in my sewing machine. I had it serviced. I bought quality fabrics, imported threads. I indulged in things that before seemed impossible, unnecessary, selfish. I painted the house, all of it, in light colors, fresh, cheerful. I hired someone to fix the roof, to repair the leaks, to change the broken tiles in the bathroom. The house looked beautiful, like new, like when Leonard and I built it. Doris continued to visit me. We drank coffee every afternoon. We laughed. We told stories. We made plans. I wanted to travel, see the ocean. I hadn't left the city in years. Doris said we could go together, that it would be fun, two old ladies loose on the beach. I laughed. I liked the idea. I didn't hear anything about Chloe for 2 months. It hurt. I thought about her every day. I wondered if she was okay, if she missed me, if she hated me for what had happened. But I couldn't contact her. Legally, I couldn't approach her while she was with Jake and Melissa. That's what the judge had ordered. It was in the 3rd month when I received a call. It was the social worker, Ms. Sanchez. "Mrs. Miller, I need to speak with you." My heart raced. "It's Chloe. She's fine. She's physically fine. But emotionally, she's going through a difficult time. Her father is being investigated for fraud. Her mother is working double shifts. The child spends a lot of time alone, or with neighbors. She's asking for you. Constantly. Can I see her? There's a process. But yes, I can arrange it, if you are willing to be evaluated as a temporary care option. I would do anything, whatever is necessary. I went through evaluations, interviews, home visits. They checked my house, my financial stability, my mental health, my history, everything. It was invasive, uncomfortable, but necessary. And I did it. For Chloe. To give her a safe home, a place where she could be a child without carrying the weight of adult problems. 2 weeks later, Ms. Sanchez called me. "You have been approved, Mrs. Miller. Chloe can stay with you, temporarily, while her parents' situation is being resolved, if you agree." I cried. I cried with happiness, with relief. Yes. Yes, I agree. Chloe arrived one Saturday morning. The social worker brought her. She carried a small backpack, a few things. She got out of the car slowly. She saw me standing at the door. She ran. "Grandma!" She hugged me. I hugged her tightly. So tightly I thought I would break her. "I'm sorry, my love. I'm sorry for everything." She shook her head. "No, Grandma. You didn't do anything wrong. Dad did bad things, Mum too, but not you." I showed her her room. I had prepared it especially. I painted the walls yellow, her favorite color. I bought a new bed, sheets with butterflies, a desk for her homework, books, toys, everything for her. Her eyes lit up. "It's for me, all of this. All of it, my love. All for you." The days with Chloe were different. I had to get up earlier, prepare her breakfast, take her to school, pick her up, help her with homework. But it was a beautiful tiredness, a tiredness with purpose, with love, with meaning. She told me about her day, about her friends, about what she was learning. I told her stories from when her dad was a boy, the good parts, before everything went wrong. She listened attentively. Sometimes she asked about him, about her mother. "I miss them, Grandma." "I know, my life." And it's okay to miss them. You can love them and at the same time know that what they did was wrong. Both things can be true. One afternoon we were at the market buying vegetables. I saw Jake. He was in the line for tortillas. He looked different, thinner, older, tired. He was wearing wrinkled clothes, worn-out shoes. He saw me. He froze. I did too. We looked at each other for seconds that seemed like hours. He looked away first. He paid for his tortillas. He left without saying anything, without approaching, without trying to speak. I felt something in my chest. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't victory. It was sadness. Sadness for what could have been and never was. For the son I could have had and who I lost somewhere along the way. Chloe didn't see him. She was distracted choosing apples. Better that way. She didn't need that confusion, that pain. She had suffered enough. We arrived home. We cooked together. She helped me peel potatoes, to stir the pot. She laughed when something fell. I laughed too. I was happy, genuinely happy. After so many years of pain, of fear, of humiliation, I was finally happy. At night, Chloe lay down in my bed. I read her stories. I sang her songs, the same ones I used to sing to Jake when he was little. She fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I stayed awake a little longer, looking at her, being grateful, thanking life for giving me another chance, for allowing me to care, for allowing me to love without fear. The months passed. Chloe grew. She adapted. She was a different girl, happier, more confident. She got good grades. She had friends. She played. She laughed. She was what she should have always been. A child without adult worries. Jake never tried to contact me. Melissa didn't either. The fraud case was still pending. I don't know what happened to them. I didn't ask. I didn't want to know. I had closed that door. I had moved on, and I wasn't going to look back. One Sunday afternoon, I was in the garden. Chloe was playing with a ball. Doris had come to visit us. We were drinking lemonade. We talked about everything and nothing. The sun was warm. The air smelled of jasmine. The flowers I planted were blooming. "Are you happy, Ellie?" Doris's question caught me by surprise. I thought for a moment. I looked at Chloe laughing. I looked at my house, my garden, my life. Yes, I am happy, after all. Despite everything, I am happy. And it was true. I had lost my son. I had lost years of my life. I had suffered. I had cried. I had bled. But I had gained something more important. I had gained my freedom, my dignity, my voice. I had gained the ability to say no, to set boundaries, to defend myself, to not allow anyone to treat me as if I was worthless. I was 64 years old when this story began. Now I was 65, 1 year older, but infinitely stronger, wiser, more alive. This house was mine. This life was mine. And no one, never again, was going to take it from me. Chloe ran toward me. "Grandma, look!" She had found a butterfly, yellow, beautiful, resting on her hand. We looked at it together. The butterfly opened its wings. It flew. It rose toward the sky. Free. Like me. Like us. Finally free.